January 13th, 1968. Folsom State Prison, California. Johnny Cash is about to walk onto a makeshift stage in front of 2,000 of America's most dangerous criminals. Murderers, rapists, armed robbers, men with nothing to lose. The prison warden has just pulled Johnny aside. "You play what we agreed on, Cash. Nothing political, nothing that gets them riled up, or I shut this whole thing down." Johnny looks at the warden, looks at the inmates waiting beyond that door, and makes a decision that will define his entire career. A decision that will make history. 6 months earlier, June 1967. Johnny Cash is in his manager's office in Nashville. His career is at a crossroads. He's been clean for a few months now, thanks to June Carter. But country music radio doesn't trust him anymore. Too many arrests, too many canceled shows, too many years of chaos. He needs something big, something that will remind people why Johnny Cash matters. His manager, Saul Holiff, has an idea. "What about a live album?" Johnny shrugs. "Live albums are common, nothing special." "Where?" he asks. And Saul says something that changes everything. "What about a prison? What about Folsom?" Johnny sits up. Folsom State Prison. Maximum security. One of the toughest prisons in America. Johnny had played prisons before. Small shows, Texas, Arkansas. But never anything like Folsom. Never anything this big. Never anything recorded. "They'll never let us," Johnny says. But Saul grins. "Let me make some calls." And he does. He calls the California Department of Corrections. He calls Columbia Records. He calls everyone he can think of. And slowly, impossibly, they start to say yes. But there are conditions. Strict conditions. The warden of Folsom Prison, a man named Charles Duffy, agrees to the concert. But he has rules. No songs about prison breaks. No songs that glorify crime. No songs that might incite a riot. Johnny can perform, but it has to be safe. It has to be controlled. Saul brings the list of restrictions back to Johnny. Johnny reads it, and then he crumples it up and throws it in the trash. "I'm not singing for the warden," Johnny says. "I'm singing for the inmates. The months leading up to the concert are tense. Columbia Records is nervous. This could be a disaster. What if the inmates riot? What if someone gets hurt? What if the whole thing turns into a PR nightmare?" They send executives to meet with Johnny, to convince him to play it safe. But Johnny won't budge. "These men are forgotten," he tells them. "Society threw them away. The least I can do is treat them like human beings. And that means giving them the truth, not some sanitized, safe version of me. The real me." June Carter supports him completely. She knows what this means to Johnny. He's always had a soft spot for the underdog, the outcast, the forgotten, maybe because Johnny himself had been there. He'd been arrested. He'd been in jail cells. He knew what it felt like to be treated like less than human. And he wasn't going to do that to these men, even if it cost him his career. January 12th, 1968. Johnny, June, and the band arrive at Folsom Prison. The place is intimidating. High walls, guard towers, barbed wire everywhere. They're searched. Their instruments are searched. Their equipment is inspected for anything that could be used as a weapon. The guards are on edge. "These inmates are dangerous," one guard warns Johnny. "Don't turn your back on them. Don't get too close to the bars. And whatever you do, don't promise them anything." Johnny nods. But he's not scared. He's excited. That night, Johnny meets with Warden Duffy. The warden is a hard man. Career corrections officer, he's seen everything, and he doesn't trust musicians. Especially not Johnny Cash. "Tomorrow you'll do 2 shows, Duffy says. "One in the morning, one in the afternoon. We've reviewed your set list, and there are some songs we need to discuss." He pulls out a list. "Folsom Prison Blues is fine, but we don't want Dark as a Dungeon. Too depressing. And absolutely no cocaine blues. That's about murder. We can't have that." Johnny listens quietly. Then he says, "With all due respect, Warden, those songs are why these men want to hear me. They don't want me to pretend prison is something it's not. They live it every day. They want the truth." Duffy's face hardens. "Mr. Cash, I'm responsible for the safety of everyone in this facility. If I think your music is going to cause problems, I will shut it down. Mid-show if I have to. Do you understand?" Johnny nods. "I understand, Warden, but I'm not changing my set list." The tension between them is thick. June, who's been standing quietly in the corner, steps forward. "Warden Duffy, these men respect honesty. Johnny's been honest his whole career. That's why they love him. If he tries to be something he's not, they'll know. And that's when you'll have problems." Duffy looks at June, then back at Johnny. Finally he sighs. "Fine. Play what you want. But if anything goes wrong, it's on you." Johnny extends his hand. "Fair enough." They shake. But both men know this is a gamble. January 13th, 1968. Morning. The first show is about to begin. Johnny and the band are backstage in a small holding area. They can hear the inmates on the other side of the wall. yelling, banging on tables. The energy is electric, dangerous. Carl Perkins, Johnny's guitarist, looks nervous. "John, are you sure about this?" Johnny grins. "Too late to back out now, Carl." The prison chaplain comes to pray with them. And then it's time. The door opens. Johnny walks out first. The room explodes. 2,000 inmates on their feet, screaming, applauding, banging on anything they can. Johnny walks to the microphone. He's wearing all black. The man in black. He looks out at the sea of faces, hardened criminals, men who've done terrible things. But right now, they're just men. And they're looking at Johnny Cash like he's a lifeline. Johnny doesn't say hello. He doesn't introduce himself. He just counts off. 1, 2, 3. And the band launches into Folsom Prison Blues. The inmates go wild. This is their song, their anthem. "I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die." They know every word. They sing along. And Johnny feeds off their energy. This is what music is supposed to be. Raw, real, alive. Between songs, Johnny talks to the inmates like they're old friends. He tells jokes, he tells stories, he treats them with dignity. And they respond. They laugh, they applaud, they hang on every word. Warden Duffy is standing in the back, arms crossed, watching carefully. He's still not convinced this is a good idea. Then Johnny does something risky. He introduces a new song, a song the inmates have never heard before. A song about a man named Greystone Chapel, who found redemption in prison. "This song was written by Glenn Shirley," Johnny says. "He's an inmate here at Folsom, and I'm going to sing it for you." The room goes silent. An inmate wrote a song, and Johnny Cash is going to perform it? Glenn Shirley is sitting in the audience. He's crying. He had sent the song to Johnny months ago, never expecting anything to come of it. And now Johnny Cash is singing his song, in front of the whole prison, on a recording that will be released to the world. Warden Duffy shifts uncomfortably. This wasn't on the approved set list. He starts to move forward, ready to intervene. But then he sees the inmates. They're not angry. They're not rioting. They're listening. Really listening. With respect. With emotion. And Duffy realizes something. Johnny Cash knows exactly what he's doing. After Greystone Chapel, Johnny launches into Cocaine Blues, the murder ballad that Duffy specifically said not to play. The song is violent, graphic. It's about a man who kills his girlfriend in a drug-fueled rage. The inmates love it. They're on their feet, cheering every brutal lyric. Duffy is furious. He storms toward the stage. But before he can reach it, something happens. Johnny finishes the song. And then he stops. He looks out at the inmates. And he says something unscripted. Something that wasn't planned. "You know, I've been in jail, not like you guys. Just a night here and there. But I know what it feels like to be locked up. To be told you're worthless. To be forgotten. And I want you to know something." He pauses. The room is silent. "You're not forgotten. Not by me. Not by God. You made mistakes. But you're still men. You're still human. And you deserve to be treated that way." The inmates erupt. Not in violence. Not in anger. In gratitude. They're standing. Applauding. Some are crying. Because maybe for the first time in years, someone is treating them like they matter. Warden Duffy stops in his tracks. He watches this moment. And despite himself, despite all his rules and regulations, he's moved. He turns around and walks back to his position. He's not going to shut it down. Johnny Cash was right. The show continues. Johnny plays all the songs he wants. He sings about darkness and redemption, about pain and hope, and the inmates respond with the kind of energy that makes history. When the show finally ends, the applause lasts for 10 minutes. 10 minutes of 2,000 men showing their appreciation for someone who saw them as human. Backstage, Warden Duffy approaches Johnny. Johnny braces himself for a lecture. But instead, Duffy extends his hand. "Mr. Cash, I was wrong. What you did out there, that was something special." Johnny shakes his hand. "These men needed to be heard, Warden, and they needed to know someone's listening." Duffy nods. "Well, they know now." The album, At Folsom Prison, is released a few months later. It becomes the biggest album of Johnny Cash's career. It goes to #1. It wins awards. It makes Johnny a household name again. But more importantly, it changes how society thinks about prisoners. It humanizes them. It reminds people that these are men who made mistakes, not monsters. Glenn Shirley, the inmate who wrote Greystone Chapel, is eventually paroled. Johnny helps him get started in music, gives him opportunities. Glenn's life after prison is complicated. But for a while, he has hope. And that hope started because Johnny Cash believed in him. Because Johnny treated him like he mattered. Years later, Johnny is asked about that day at Folsom. About why he risked everything to defy the warden's orders. And Johnny's answer is simple. "Those men didn't need me to play it safe. They needed me to play it real. And if I wasn't willing to do that, I had no business being there." That's the genius of Johnny Cash. He didn't just perform for prisoners. He stood with them. He defied authority for them. He risked his career for them, because he believed that everyone, no matter what they've done, deserves dignity, deserves respect, deserves to be seen. The day Johnny Cash walked into Folsom Prison, he wasn't just a musician. He was a voice for the voiceless, a champion for the forgotten. And when the warden tried to silence that voice, Johnny didn't back down. He stood his ground, and he changed music history forever.